Hi, everyone. I'm Doreen Redmond with AARP North Dakota, and I'd like to welcome you to our Outdoor Grilling Tips and Techniques program today, part of our Passport to Healthy Living program. And as you know, AARP began more than 60 years ago to work to promote the health and well-being of Americans. And we're working on that with all of the work we do here in North Dakota, whether it be advocacy, healthy living programs, fraud and scam things. We're working on a lot of different things and we're really enjoying that. And we're glad you joined us today for this Passport to Healthy Living program. But we're just really thrilled to have you here, and we're excited to hear about these healthy grilling tips and techniques for our outdoor grills. And our guests today that we have are Vanessa Hoynes from NDSU Extension, Morton County. Yay! And Nancy Jo Bateman from the North Dakota Beef Commission. And we have them together here in a beautiful background. And it's just a pleasure to work with both of you again. And thank you for being with us. And Vanessa and Nancy Jo, what we'd like to do now is just have you both share a little bit about yourselves and a little bit about your background and all of that, whatever you'd like to tell us right now. And let's start with you, Vanessa.
Okay, thanks, Doreen. Yes, and I so enjoy working with AARP audiences. It's always a joy. And so whether it's in person or via Zoom, this is going to be fun. I work with NDSU Extension in Morton County. I'm a family and community wellness agent. And so I get a chance to work with lots of different programming in regards to food nutrition, which of course this is right up the alley of grilling today. And so we'll also be talking a little bit about food safety along the way, because we want to make sure that those foods are safe as we're preparing them. And I'm so excited to be able to team up with my friend here. And so I'll let Nancy Jo introduce herself.
Well, hi, I'm so happy to be with you guys. This is my first AARP event, hopefully not the last.
Right.
We promise you're going to have a lot of interesting information today. Hopefully you walk away with at least one really kind of aha thing that you know about or learned about beef or grilling, or what to pair with beef and fruits and vegetables and all of that kind of stuff. I work with the North Dakota Beef Commission, which means I work for all of the cattle producers in North Dakota. And they help fund our programs like this so we can bring messages about how delicious, how nutritious, and how safe beef is to consumers. So we're happy to be here, and we're happy to host you in our test kitchen at the North Dakota Beef Commission.
That is awesome. Yeah, we're excited about it too. We've got, I know you've got a lot to show us a little bit later, so we're eager for that. So thank you both for teaming up and partnering on this with us. We really appreciate it. And right now we're going to get started with Vanessa's presentation. And we're going to see a little more of Nancy Jo a little bit later here, but we're going to move right on in. We're just so excited to have these experts with us today. And Vanessa's going to take it from here and start her program. And I'll get out of the way and hop back in with some cues and all of that as we get them. So take it away, Vanessa.
All right. Well, as Nancy Jo and I were discussing and getting ready for this, we were hoping or wishing we could have done smell-o-vision, because we would have tantalized your taste buds if you would have been in person, but hopefully we can do that with your eyes, because you eat with your eyes first. So we'll start with that. But so today, focusing on becoming a grill master. Grilling is a very popular cooking method, and especially during the summer months, but people also like to do it kind of year round if they can, if they have a safe place to do that. And grilling is actually one of those cooking methods that is very healthy. It's an opportunity to if we have any extra fat, can drip away from that food instead of having that food cook right within that fat. And so that's a healthy option. And so today we're going to talk about lots of different tips that we can give you. Okay. Whoops. No, it's not moving. Oh, there we go. Okay. So kind of our outline of what we're going to be talking today, we're going to kind of touch on some grill safety and maintenance, just briefly. Also some food safety measures that we want to be aware of. And then we're going to dig into grilling beef, give you some great tips about the cuts of beef you should be looking for to have a successful grilled meal. Also some great fruits and vegetables that would be some consideration for the grill. And then marinades and rubs that you can use to make your meats more flavorful. All right, so we're going to get started with some grill safety. And a lot of the things I'm hoping these are things you're already doing, but just to kind of remind everybody about some of the safety things we should be thinking about. Making sure that we're operating our grill in an open area, not within our garage or too close to our home, not within a camper or a tent. I know one of my neighbors obviously had their grill too close to their house because they now have some siding that's damaged. Luckily, it didn't catch fire, but it still is a costly mistake. So make sure you're doing your grilling in open areas. Follow your manufacturer's directions of your grill, or if you are using charcoal, make sure you're following the directions on the charcoal bag. So that will be your best information. If you are using charcoal, make sure that you have extinguished all of the ashes before you do discard them. All right, and then of course don't leave your grill unattended, and having those long-handled utensils and mitts can be a great addition to a safe grilling. So it's the beginning of the season, and I think a lot of us have probably already been grilling, so we're not thinking about that right now. But when it is time to get that grill out, you can easily use a hose or a leaf blower to get some of those over the winter. Get those things clean the grate maybe with a metal brush to help you with that first cleaning. But then as you're going throughout the grilling season, consider using a nonstick cooking spray on your grate to make sure that it's easier to clean in between uses. You can also use a brush, which can be helpful, but using that spray can really make it come off much easier. If you're still having some items that are hard to get off, another great way is to just turn up the heat on that grill and literally cook off any bacteria that could be on there from the last time that you used it. And then of course, as you're beginning the season, check those gas lines and valves, make sure that you don't have any leaks. You never want to use a grill that has any issues with the gas. And sometimes it's also a great idea to even ask a professional if you think that there is possibly a leak somewhere, have them come and check it out. All right. So one of the hints that I have when it comes to how hot is your grill, sometimes it's difficult to discern the temperature. If you are lucky enough to have a thermometer right on your grill, then maybe you have a good idea about the temperature. But if you don't, this is an easy tip. So you would place your hand over the coals or over the grate about 4 inches above where the food would be placed. And if you can hold your hand, you hold your hand there as long as you can. And if you have to pull your hand away after you count to just 2 seconds, you can see by the chart that your temperature of your grill at that point is about 375 or hotter. And then if you can hold it there for 3 seconds, you can see it would be about 350 to 375, and so on. This helps you as a good indicator about how hot those coals are or how hot your grill is. And I think sometimes we'll be talking about this a little bit when we're choosing to cook on our grill. It's not always high heat that we want to use. We want to be able to have some more variance in how hot we have that grill. And so having a way to be able to check that is a good tip. I also mentioned that I wanted to touch a little bit on some food safety issues. And when we talk about fight back, that really means fight bacteria. And so we have 4 specific things or areas that we want to focus on: clean, separate, cook, and chill. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those. So the first 2 are clean and separate. And of course, the first thing I mentioned is to wash your hands. And I know when we're cooking outside, sometimes we might think, where we might not wash our hands as often as we do when we're in the kitchen. But it's a good reminder that we do need to wash our hands just as often, even though we're cooking outside. And so if there's somebody else that does the grilling as compared to the cooking, that might be a good reminder for them also. We also want to make sure that we're washing our work area, whether it's counters or if you have other places on your grill where you can set food, you want to make sure that all those places have been washed off with warm soapy water. And of course, any produce you're using, we want to wash that with just clean, cool running water. Then when we talk about the separate part, this is when we can have opportunities for cross-contamination. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that raw meat separate from any produce or other ready-to-eat foods that we're planning to serve. Another great one that I see happen a lot of times is that people will put their hamburgers or something on a nice platter. They'll carry them out to the grill, and the platter goes back into the kitchen. And then when it's time for them to put the grilled burgers out to put them to be served, somehow they end up on that same platter. Now, obviously, that's not a good idea. We want to make sure that if you are using the same platter, that it does get washed very thoroughly before you're putting cooked food back on that same surface. And then also making sure that you have any other foods that won't be cooked coming in contact with any of those juices from the raw meats or poultry. One other great tip is to actually use separate cutting boards for fruits and vegetables and meats. And obviously, if you don't have that opportunity to have two different cutting boards, making sure again that we're washing them thoroughly in between each use. Now, sometimes I get questions about what's the best type of material to have your cutting board made out of. What should I have? Wood? Should I have plastic? What should I have? The best answer to that is that it needs to be a cutting board that doesn't have deep grooves into it. So in other words, if your cutting board is looking kind of tough and it's seen better days, that might be a time to get a new one. Because no matter what the surface is made out of, if it has some really deep grooves in it, that is where you can have food particles get caught, even in your best dishwashers that might not get that out. And so making sure that you change that up and get a brand new one can be the best way to do it. Not so much worrying about the kind of material that your cutting board is made out of. All right, now the next one is cook. That's the next step. And so we're going to talk a little bit about making sure as we're cooking on the grill that we're using a thermometer. Hopefully all of you have one handy that you can use to make sure that your food is getting properly cooked. There can be different types. The one on the screen is a dial gauge. And a lot of times those will have, along the probe, there will be a mark that will tell you that you need to have that probe put into your food at least that far in order to make sure that it's getting a proper reading. Now, we're always wanting to put our thermometers into the deepest part of the meat, and that's usually what we're going to probably be checking is the meat, is to make sure it's in the thickest part of the food. If you are doing a thinner food, like if you're doing a burger, for example, then you're going to need to put it in at an angle. Or even when I think about pork chops, sometimes I might have to go in from the side or the side of the burger. Okay. So now let's talk about those internal temps. What temperature are we looking for? So when we're looking at larger pieces of meat, a roast or a steak, that type of meat, 145 is the temperature that we're trying to reach. And you'll notice on the chart that it talks about a 3-minute rest time. This is an opportunity and a good tip to remember that when you are cooking meat, whether it's indoors or on the grill, you will have once you take it off the heat source, you will have some time where that meat continues to cook. And so taking it off at 145 will ensure that it will be done, but it will also have some great juices and have a great flavor for you that you're keeping. And I think that's the one of the main reasons why I really encourage people to use thermometers, is because I think many times without the use of a thermometer, chances are you're probably overcooking rather than undercooking. And if we cook it too long, then you're going to end up with a dry, just a dry product at the end, which won't be what you're looking for. Now, you'll notice that there's a big difference between the temperature that we need for steaks and roasts compared to ground meats. So if I'm making a burger, I need to make sure that I cook that to 160 degrees. So now you're probably thinking, well, aren't those both beef? Why would that be a big deal? Well, the difference is that those bacteria live on the outsides of foods. And so that's why we can eat a steak rare, or we can have a roast that's rare, because we have cooked the outside, which is where that bacteria can be. And we've cooked that to a temperature that has ensured that has been killed and isn't an issue. But ground meats, of course, are just smaller pieces of meat that have all been mixed together and put together into a burger. And so this means that we need to have the entire piece of meat, the whole burger, meaning the center then needs to come to that 160 degrees. And then you'll also see if you're looking at ham, whether it's fresh or smoked, you want to reach that 145, and poultry is 165. And fish and shellfish would be 145. And then leftovers, if you're going to be using leftovers again, it's encouraged that you reheat them to 165. So let's talk about that burger again. Now, I think a lot of times when we're grilling, we use our eyes to figure out when a burger is done. So I'm hoping that this picture is showing you that the one that's on top is one that was fully cooked to 160 degrees. But if you look closely, I can kind of see some pink, like a pink layer in there. Now, this is an example. And then if you look at the one below that, that one looks kind of brown all the way through, but that one isn't fully cooked. It didn't reach 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reason I'm showing this is that researchers have found that depending on where the beef has come from, what the animal has eaten, and also how that hamburger has been stored, meaning that they have found that if hamburger has been frozen, in some cases, it can prematurely brown. And so because of that, your eyes are not a good judge of when that burger is done. You really need to pull out that thermometer. And again, even with burgers, I think people probably overcook their burger, cooking them to 170 or even higher, and then they end up with a product that maybe isn't as juicy as they would like. So if you haven't heard it before, take out your thermometer and have it out there when you're grilling. All right, our last piece when we're talking about food safety is to chill. And that is simply just to make sure that you keep those cold foods cold and cool hot foods as quickly as possible. So making sure that if you're doing a picnic and those kinds of things, that you're keeping food out of that danger zone. Between the danger zone is anytime things are between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So in other words, room temperature. So we want to make sure we're watching that to keep things from spoiling. Okay, leftovers. Making sure that if you have leftovers after your grilling or your picnic, that you refrigerate them promptly. If you have had several people over and you've had several dishes that you're sharing, you want to make sure that that food, if it's left out for more than 2 hours, that you do have to discard that and don't plan to keep it for a leftover. And of course, on days like today, when it's over 90 degrees, then that is cut to 1 hour. And so if you are brave enough to be out grilling and picnicking today with this wind and heat, then 1 hour would be your limit. And of course, when in doubt, throw it out. There's no need to have somebody get ill because they're not, because you weren't taking care of the foods that you were serving. All right. So now we are going to move into what do I grill? Trying to find the right cut of meat, helping us to find the right one so we can have that great steak or whatever else we want to put on the grill. We're also going to be talking about grilling things like vegetables and fruits, trying to find maybe things that we want to use to marinate those less tender cuts, or maybe we just want to marinate because we want to add some extra flavor. And then we're going to talk a little bit about marbling and why that's important as we're looking at that wonderful meat case to find out what's the exact cut of beef that we want to stop and purchase for that day. So we will come right back in a minute, and I think Doreen has some things she wants to visit with you about, and we will be ready to show you some great things to grill.
That sounds awesome, Vanessa. Thank you for that presentation. And meanwhile, I want to say another special thanks to Connie Grandal, our volunteer greeter, who helped us out in the beginning of the program by welcoming you to our Zoom webinar. And, you know, without folks like Connie, we wouldn't be able to do these kinds of things. And we have a little question that we'd like to put up for you. We've got some volunteer opportunities with AARP, virtual volunteering, we'll call it. And, you know, things like sharing our Facebook posts or being a virtual presenter or greeting people like Connie did today. We're also looking for folks who might want to participate in serving as a discussion leader or a live trivia team leader. So anyway, we've got a lot of different opportunities. And if you want to take a second and let us know if you are interested in being a virtual volunteer for AARP, we're always eager to have extra folks helping us out in providing these programs. And again, a special thanks to Connie for her role earlier today. And I should mention too, another thing that we have coming up are our telephone town halls, where we phone folks, and then we need some screeners for those phone calls. So that is not one where you're on the screen, but you're just on the telephone. So that's another option. But we just wanted to put that up and let folks know that if you do have some interest in virtual volunteering with us right now, we'd love to have you join us. So, and I do want to mention too, those of you who are watching this on Zoom after, on YouTube after the fact, you won't be seeing this poll. This is only for those on the Zoom webinar right now. So just a reminder that these always go on our YouTube channel afterward, and that is AARPND. So if you go to YouTube and type that in, you can see all of our past videos from before. So now I think we'll get back to the folks at the North Dakota Beef Commission and see if Nancy, Joe, and Vanessa are ready for us yet. I know they're getting things set there, and they're going to be bringing us some more wonderful photos and some video of some nice cuts of meat here. So we're going to just be patient for them to join us. But we've got lots of folks on today. So glad to see so many of you registered. And next month, I should mention, oh, here we go. Here they are. Awesome. Here are Nancy, Joe, and Vanessa. Take it away whenever you're ready.
Hi, we're back. Thanks so much, Vanessa. Great information. We are going to start our little beef and grilling journey here today, talking about cuts of beef. And
I'm getting hungry.
Well, yeah, this is a pretty fabulous tray full of beef cuts, and we're going to talk our way through them, because one of the questions I get a lot is, what cuts are the best for the grill, or what cuts do I do what with? And so we've got several options here. And I'm going to start with a couple cuts that may not be familiar to you, at least not cooking at home, but that might be something you may have tried in a restaurant, because the tri-tip and the flat iron steak are two of what we in the beef industry call our value cuts. There was a lot of research done many years ago trying to find additional, I'll just say, you know, nuggets of great meat inside the carcass that we weren't fully utilizing or fully enjoying. And the tri-tip and the flat iron steak were two of those. The flat iron actually is in kind of the sirloin or the back leg area of a steer or a heifer. And the flat iron is actually right in the middle of the shoulder, or the area called the chuck. And it used to just go into ground beef or be in a pot roast, because right through the center, the long length of that muscle, there was a lot of gristle that only low temperature cooking would actually dissolve, and then it was nice and soft and it was delicious and everything like that. But somebody smarter than me decided, well, why don't we try like an old fishing technique on this mussel and just cut that tissue out. And the muscle on the top and the bottom of that was just one of the most tender muscles in the entire carcass. So the first one we're going to look at is the tri-tip, and it's called tri because it has 3 sides. Okay, and you can see on this one quite easily, Vanessa talked about marbling and intermuscular fat, which is what marbling is, and you can really see that the grain of the meat and the fat that's inside it, that contributes to tenderness, to juiciness, all that flavor. And so this is really, really an excellent piece of meat. There's only 2 on a carcass, and they're only about 2 pounds to 2.5 pounds, so not a lot of it. So it's in demand. Again, that's why sometimes it's hard to find at a grocery store because the restaurants have grabbed it up. And now I'm going to flip this over and show you the other side, because some people may think this is icky. But this has a whole cap of fat on the top. And that's something that you want when you grill this cut of beef, because that fat provides all kinds of flavor. You put it on your grill at actually a high temperature to start with, to sear that, to start melting and caramelizing that fat, and the flavor that it adds is tremendous. So if you buy a tri-tip and there's a cap of fat like this, and it's not thick, it's just an even covering over the top of it, you want to leave that. You don't want to be tempted to grab your sharp knife and go to work on it. So we'll turn this back over here. And so that is a tremendous cut of beef, and moderate price. I've seen them from $6 to $7 or $7.50 a pound, which is really not bad. And if a person wants to take this cut and actually cut steaks from it rather than doing it whole, that's really easy too. But again, the tip there is, I should have a knife, but I don't. You want to cut across the grain. So you see this muscle structure here. You want to make sure that you're cutting this way across it into steaks. And the challenge is they get to be a little oddball size because you've got a long stretch here, but you've got short here, but still they're delicious. And they're really, really quick cooking on the grill. You don't want to overcook them. I loved your part on meat thermometers, because I have 2 options here that I'd like to just talk about for a moment. This is just a simple, quick read meat thermometer. Comes in a little tube, basically, and probably costs you $2 or less at a hardware store or at a meat market. And the thing that I wanted to point out on here, there looks to be like a little dent on the wand, a little notch. That's not a mistake. No. That's something that you want to pay attention to, because you want to get that meat thermometer into the meat that far. So when people are tempted to go like this, you know, and just get the tip into a steak, you're not getting an accurate temperature read by any stretch. So you want to make sure that if it's possible to put it in parallel, I mean, put it in this direction on here, into the side of the steak, and get it in as far as you can, and that would be the most accurate reading. Of course, you can really go high tech. This is barely mid tech, but you know, little digital ones. Again, you've just got that wand to use, and then this one just, you know, tells you what it's doing rather than reading the dial. So okay,
sometimes the digital don't need to be put into the meat as far.
Yes, yes. Okay, next cut of meat, again, fabulous for the grill, is called the flat iron. I don't know where they come up with these names, but that's what it is. So that's what you find in the restaurants and in the grocery store. And this cut, you look at this and it looks kind of just like a rectangle. It's not particularly thick, not even an inch, but has some unique cooking properties. Extremely tender, extremely juicy. Now, I, being the beef lady, would never encourage someone to cook their steak to well done.
No.
But if you are a well done person, this is the perfect steak for you. Because of all of these fabulous cuts of beef that we're talking about here today, the flat iron will stay the juiciest at a higher temperature.
Okay, so even if it is high.
Yeah, even if it's well done. And it will almost double in thickness. It just plumps. I mean, it'll kind of shrink up a little from the edges, but almost double in thickness. And so when you cut into it after you've let it rest, like you mentioned, the juice will just run from that and you're just gonna love it. Again, a lot of marbling in this steak and a tremendous, tremendous flavor. Okay, then we're gonna move on to some other steaks that you're probably more familiar with. Right in the center here, we've got a top sirloin steak. I've told consumers many times over my career that if the beef carcass had a chicken breast, you know, and you think of chicken breast as being really, really versatile, you can do anything with it. That would be sirloin steak for beef because you can cube it, you can use it as a steak. You can take this one top sirloin and cut it into 3 or 4 servings, depending on how big of eaters you have. You can do it in strips for stir fry. Obviously on the grill, it's fabulous. But one other thing that I have just found in a grocery store in our area comes from the top sirloin, but it's been separated from this one. You see there's not that cap that you normally have on a top sirloin. Well, now you can actually buy that top sirloin cap by itself. And it is unbelievably tender and juicy. And so that's what this steak here is. A really nice portion size.
I was gonna say, not such a big investment if you're cooking for 1 or 2.
Exactly. And just a fabulous portion size. Okay, now we're going to go to a couple other, or 3 other steaks that all are kind of related, okay? We've got the ribeye steak. I mean, this is kind of the Cadillac, unless you go to tenderloin. And I didn't do tenderloin because tenderloin is extremely expensive right now. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the ribeye steak, you know, just because it's one steak, and this one is relatively thick, probably almost a 16-ounce steak. I don't need to eat 16 ounces, but I
shouldn't.
No, and I shouldn't. I don't need that. But I would much rather have a part of a ribeye steak that's 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick than a whole steak that's a 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
And you can control the degree of doneness when you're grilling. You can control the juiciness. You can control the heat. A lot of things like that. So there isn't a rule anywhere that says you have to eat the whole thing. Or that you can't cut it in half or in 3 pieces. My husband and I do that a lot. Then we're going to move on to this really beautiful steak with a lot of marbling. And that one is called a New York strip or strip steak. Now, again, it comes from a little farther back than the carcass, but equally tender, juicy, fabulous. And when you're looking at beef from a value standpoint, and if you're on a limited budget, you want to make sure you get the most for your dollar, okay? And we're going to do a little value lesson here, okay? The last big steak I have here is a porterhouse, okay? In case you didn't know, the piece, the small piece on that side is the tenderloin. When I was growing up, we had T-bone steaks, and it was always a race to see who got the little part because that was the most tender. Okay. On the other side, if we were to remove the bone, this steak right here is the New York strip.
And you can see that.
Yes, you can see the style and the muscling, the muscle fibers are all the same. Now, today, this steak was about $13.50 a pound. Now that's a lot of money. Okay, but by themselves, the tenderloin was $24 a pound.
Wow.
And the New York strip was $17. So here you've got a T-bone or a porterhouse steak that is on sale. Yes, that's a large amount of money and it's a large amount of meat. But for a single person, this could be 3 or 4 meals.
Right, definitely.
And so just pay attention to that. So when they're on sale, you take advantage of that too. I mean, the grocers put them on sales and that's, you know, for your benefit. And then the last 2 things we're going to talk about, you'd mentioned ground beef. I've got 2 different fat levels of ground beef. This one is obviously a leaner one. It's redder. You can pretty much tell that. 90% plus lean. This one is in the mid 80s. And so the lesson on this is that for grilling, you know, we're always looking at trying to have a lean product and not have fat that flares up and things like that. But if you're going to do a really good juicy burger on the grill, you want more fat in that product. You want that 80 to 85% lean product, or at least I do. So I'm just giving you my opinion.
And it's going to drip through, so you're not gonna end up eating it like you would if you're cooking it in a fry pan.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that with that additional fat, it's going to be juicier
Mhm.
if you cook it to 160 degrees, and it's going to be more tender and will have a lot more flavor. Now, there's nothing wrong with a lean burger like this if that's your choice. My suggestion would be that you put at least maybe an egg or egg white or something in there that has a little binding capacity
Mhm.
so that it'll all hold together on the grill. Because
Yeah.
I have done this before. I go to flip it and it cracks in half and down through the grates it goes.
And you lose the whole
And
thing.
there went something. So, okay, we're going to take this off and we are going to go to other things that we can do with beef.
This is just great. You guys are doing a great job. I have
drop them on the floor.
one quick question about that tri-tip.
Yes.
I don't know if you
You've got
can
a
hear me,
question
but
about tri-tip, I guess.
yeah, I was curious. This is Doreen. I was just curious that when you start up that tri-tip, do you start it with the fat side on top when you throw it on the grill? Or would you have that fat part on the bottom? What would be the best?
Oh,
way
when
to
we're
start
grilling, the question is, do we put the fat side down on the grill, right to the heat, or do we leave it on the top? You season it well and put that fat cap on the grate and let that start to brown and sear and everything like that a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes at a relatively high heat,
Mhm.
higher than you would anticipate. You're not going to be able to hold your hand over that grill but a split second
Mhm.
before you put that on. And then flip it over. I've got a gas grill, it's got 3 burners. So I will shut the middle burner off and turn down the side burners, leave the roast in the middle, or the tri-tip in the middle, and just let it cook a little bit slower. It's not going to take that long. You want to keep an eye on it. My biggest mistake grilling is that I put something on the grill and then I run back to the kitchen and I'm doing the salad or doing something else, and pretty soon it's like, got too much smoke coming out of my grill.
Yeah, you really need to have somebody there watching it all the time so it doesn't get overdone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you invested a lot in this meat, so you want to make sure that it's good. What we've got here on the counter, Vanessa, I'm trying to get this in the screen, so yeah, sorry about that. If we want to talk about marinating, there's not a lot of need for having your own homemade marinade unless you've got a secret sauce, secret
That
recipe
you wanna
kind of thing.
use. Yeah.
But if you're going to just add flavor, 20 minutes to 2 hours is all it takes. Put that steak, that roast, whatever cut it is, in a like a Ziploc bag or a sealed up flat Rubbermaid type container.
Mhm.
And what we've got here for flavoring, you can use anything. If you want teriyaki flavor, put a teriyaki marinade. If you want Asian, go for that. If you
Italian.
yeah, Italian, anything like that. But if you want to tenderize, you need an acid. And we've got all kinds of things in here. We've got lemon juice, Italian dressing, red wine vinegar, and then all of the other pre-made marinades as well. Another thing that I think is fun to learn about is flavors that go with beef. And there's a kind of a fifth taste sense called umami, and it's that explosion of flavor that you get when you bite into just a delicious, well-seasoned steak. But flavors that go with it, it's really not rocket science. If you think, Worcestershire and soy sauce, red wine, tomato-based products, fresh tomatoes, ketchup, tomato sauce, really pungent cheeses like blue cheese or cheddar cheese, bacon, that salty, smoky flavor with it, garlic, onions, mushrooms, all of those things complement. Or if you want to just season, the sky's the limit. I've got all kinds of different seasonings from just plain salt and pepper to, what do we have here? A prime steak seasoning. We've got steak and burgers. We've got Montreal. There's all sorts of things like that that are available and really good. Now we're going to just wrap up with some more fun stuff. And if anybody has questions, be sure to type them in. We'd be more than happy to try and answer. Ooh.
Almost got away from me. We have all these lovely vegetables, of course, that we can grill.
You two have been busy today, chopping and preparing. I can see that. This is wonderful.
Well, I hope you can see these really well because we were pretty excited about how nice they looked when we put them together.
Beautiful. Pam.
You know, obviously we've got a whole assortment of vegetables that would be great on the grill. We've got peppers, tomatoes, onions, corn on the cob. Fun stuff. Just cut it in pieces and throw it on a kebab or right on the grill.
Yeah,
with
leave
the
it
husks.
in the husk.
Yeah, I mean, and I've done that on my grill before. Dump it in a bunch of water, let it soak for a while, and then it steams. The other kebabs we've got here are a combination of summer squash and zucchini, or different colored peppers. Actually, just the baby potatoes are really fun. And then this one is one of a kebab that was ready to go at the supermarket, and pre-packaged to go. The other thing is, if you want to do something and you're by yourself or it's just two of you, invest in just a cheapo little version of the foil pans, this little itty bitty loaf pan with a couple potatoes, a couple pieces of onion, whatever would be just great. And the cleanup's easy, throw them.
Yeah, and one tip for seasoning them can be, if you're just going to put them in there, is to throw them into a Ziploc bag and add a little bit, if you want to use Italian salad dressing again, or if you want to put in just a canola oil and whatever seasoning you like, just shake it up and then pop them into one of those tin foils, or even just taking tin foil yourself and making a little tray.
Right.
Can be a great way to have them really be luscious.
Yes. And I guess my personal preference with any of these is to take and make your vegetable kebabs. And if you want to do kebabs of your beef, make those. And then you can control the doneness.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing potatoes, they might need to be on there a little bit longer. You know, peppers and zucchini are going to cook quickly. And that way, when your steak is done, you can make sure that your vegetables are done.
Yeah.
And you don't have them both on the same kebab and the steak is overdone and the vegetables are still raw. So, okay, we're just going to ahead a little bit and then we'll take a look at the last things that we've got. You know, we don't have to necessarily slide
There you
things
go.
around. There we go. Cook the kebabs. I mean, something as easy as making a fruit kebab as a side for
Can be
this
a
would
great-
be fabulous.
And a wonderful dessert, you know, keeping in mind that all of these fruits, because of their high sugar content, that they're going to caramelize. And so you're going to get a wonderful flavor from that. We were just, you know, even taking a banana, for example, and cutting up a banana and putting it in one of those little trays can be a great way to, you know, cut the banana up, get it on the grill so it gets that lovely smoky flavor and softens up, and then take it off and add a scoop of ice cream and a little bit of topping, whatever you like on your banana split, and it is luscious. Same thing with peaches, you know, any of these wonderful fruits, apples, pineapple on the grill is wonderful.
And we forgot one vegetable thing. I saw it behind us. Sorry. Asparagus on the grill. Now you might have one of the fun little grilling containers that you can just lay it in so it doesn't fall through the grates on the grill. But this is actually kind of fun to do. We just took two kebab skewers and ran them through all of the asparagus. And you just put it on the grill and it's good to go. And it's fabulous. And on this, all I like to do is brush it with a little bit of oil and sprinkle some salt on it.
That's all you need.
Yeah. But I did go have fun looking at different little
Things to put
little
things on,
goodies
too.
to put them on. So with that, I guess this summer, I hope you all enjoy a tremendous summer season and that the wind doesn't blow quite so hard so that we can grill and not have to worry about it.
Well,
But
and I would say the sky's the limit for when it comes
Absolutely.
to fruits and vegetables for grilling. You know, if you like it, grill it, try it, because many of them you just get a great flavor.
Right.
And try a new cut of beef. Get out there and try something
Please
new.
do. That would be great. And the other thing, I had something came and went about as quick. But we just encourage you to, I know what it was. If you need more information or want a recap of this, I think AARP can provide you with a link to YouTube to see this again if you thought we had something worthwhile saying. I hope you did. Or you can also go to the North Dakota Beef Commission's website, pretty easy to remember, it's ndbeef.org.
And you can also go to the NDSU Extension website. We have lots of recipes that can be used on the grill, or if you need other sides that you want to add to your picnic or to your grilling events that you're wanting to put together.
And I think the bottom line with all of it is do it safely.
Yes, definitely.
So get a meat thermometer, handle your leftovers like they're supposed to be, don't cross-contaminate, those would be my biggest things. And use paper plates when you're taking beef to the grill.
Mhm.
That is so easy. Put your steak or your roast or your tri-tip or whatever it is on a paper plate, put it on the grill and throw it.
Yeah, get rid of it
And
right
then
away.
go get a clean one.
Mhm.
So
Great
And I don't know
tip.
if there are any more questions.
Yes, we do have some questions. So I hope you can both
we've
hear
got
me.
questions coming here.
We
Great.
do have questions
Good.
coming in. We have
Many
one,
minutes.
first of all,
It might not
comment.
take that long to exhaust my brain.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'll try to talk loud enough so you can hear me. First of all, you got a really good comment on nice tip on cooking the vegetable kebabs separate from the beef, because I think, you know, we've all seen these beautiful kebabs with a variety of foods and meats on it, but that doesn't cook evenly, right? And so good tip on that. So that was one thing that somebody commented, Deb did. One question from Pam, what temperature and how long do you cook fruit on the grill? And that's kind of our question, is the temp recommended for fruits and veggies?
Oh, it would be a slow, a lower temperature, because you don't want to scorch it or burn it because it's so high in sugar. And so I would use one of those lower temperatures, you know, and that's the beauty of having fruit for dessert, is perhaps your grill has actually cooled down.
Right.
You're remembering that you really don't have to cook it, you're just warming it.
Great point.
Okay. And that's kind of like with veggies too. They're going to cook pretty quickly too.
Yes,
I'm
veggies,
sure.
veggies can be a little bit warmer because you are wanting to get them tender, but again, they don't need to be on a high heat. And I think like Nancy Jo was talking about, maybe you want to have it turned up, but then turn it down as you put on the veggies, so that they can again cook more slowly,
I know on my grill too, I've got a second higher grate.
getting them a little
And
bit
that's,
higher.
that's really a good feature
Mhm.
when you're doing vegetables or some things that need a little less heat.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the other one I really liked was your tip on, tell me a little bit about the burger and putting an egg white in with it to keep it together. I've never heard of that, but is like one egg white per pound or of
Oh,
burger
putting something
approximately?
within the ground beef.
Oh, okay, how much? I guess for me, I would think of for 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds, you know, one egg is plenty.
Mhm.
You just want that binding property in ground beef. And of
This-
course,
The same kind of thing that you would use if you're going to put together a meatloaf.
A meatloaf,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, it's the same principle where you're wanting to give that ground beef an opportunity to hold together. So when you flip it, it doesn't come apart in your grill. So whatever your favorites are, you know, to put in your meatloaf.
Great. Wow, this was great. You know, we've got through all the questions and this was really, really interesting. Any last comments from either one of you? You two did a fantastic job. Thank you
last
so
comments,
much.
just enjoy. Have
Yes.
fun with your grill, have fun with beef, have fun with all of these possibilities, and stretch the limit a little bit. Try something you haven't done before.
Right. You
Just
know,
have fun.
go, and I think just peruse the grocery store and look at that meat counter and find something that you haven't tried before. Maybe try one of those cuts that you heard about today and maybe you had heard about before but hadn't tried yet.
Right. And the produce department, my goodness, they do a lot of wonderful things with produce. You need, well, like this one kebab that we've got here today. You don't even have to mess with it. You just pick it up and you can put it on your grill.
Pop it right on there.
Yeah. And I love the zucchini one, the one with all the little zucchini slices on it. That was awesome too. Those look really good, those kebabs. And I know our folks in the background are getting hungry. They're all telling me how good this looks and making them hungry. So thank you both, Vanessa and Nancy Jo. You were wonderful. We got lots of great tips and ideas from all of you. So Thank you both for joining us today for this Passport to Healthy Living outdoor grilling tips and techniques. And I'm going to try a tri-tip. That's my new meat that I'm going to give a whirl to. So thank you both. And I also want to give another thanks to our volunteer, Connie Grandal, who helped us early on here in the program, and also to my colleagues, Lyle Halverson and Josh Asvig, who are in the background assisting today. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today for Outdoor Grilling Tips and Techniques, part of the Passport to Healthy Living program.